Greetings all, Ferrariman601 here. Well, this is a half-hearted attempt at a half-hearted new series that I'm trying to do. We're going to talk about the racetracks in the current Formula One season. Not only, though, are we going to talk about the racetracks themselves as they are, where they are, all that kind of thing, but also, through the magic of Google Earth, as you can see here, I want to see if it's possible to explore some possible alternate layouts that we might be able to get, at least in theory, on some of these Grand Prix circuits. How could we make Grand Prix racing great again? Well, perhaps some of the tracks could use some attention. Now, a lot of the tracks in the Formula One World Championship are absolutely phenomenal, and I would not do a thing to them. Austria actually is included on that list. I love this place as it is. However, there are a few options for changing the configuration of the lap around this place, and I just wonder if it might be possible to do something with it. Regardless, we're getting ahead of ourselves. A little bit about this place. This is the Red Bull Ring. This circuit now owned by the Red Bull Company, and it is host of the Austrian Grand Prix. It's been hosting the Austrian Grand Prix since the 2014 season in recent memory. However, the circuit's history goes way back, goes back to 1969 in the guise of the Österreich Ring, which just means the Austria Ring. And it first hosted the Austrian Grand Prix back in those days. There was a slightly different configuration of this circuit between 1977 and 1995, and then we had a complete renovation of this circuit for the 1996 season. 1996 to 2004 was the last run that the A1 ring, as it was then known, is the last time that the Austrian Grand Prix had a consistent run in Formula One. However, it did not host a race in 2004. The last Austrian Grand Prix up until the 2014 season was back in 2003. After the 2004 World Championship skipped over this place, the circuit was sold to Red Bull, and initially it wasn't quite sure what was going to happen to it. They had torn up the concrete and the tarmac in many places. The circuit was not even drivable, but Red Bull decided to undertake a multi-million-dollar project to renovate the facility, get the track surface back in good condition, and to get this circuit recertified FIA Grade 1, meaning that it could host a Grand Prix, which it did for the first time in 9 years in 2014. So we had a very cool run here in Austria back in the 70s and 80s, and then we had an absence from the calendar from '03 to 2014. And now it's back on the calendar ever since. And we're about to have the 2018 Austrian Grand Prix. So the fourth Austrian Grand Prix in as many years, and its return to the calendar about to get underway. Very cool. The present configuration of the circuit, as it has been homologated in 2016, we have 4.318 kilometers or 2.683 miles. We have 10 turns. The race lap record here is held by Lewis Hamilton, set in 2017, a 107.411. Obviously, qualifying times are going to be significantly quicker than that because the races are run heavy on fuel and the drivers are trying to save fuel as well as their tires. Qualifying low fuels on sticky tires, so, well, I'm expecting pole position this weekend to be someplace in the 103 range, if you could believe it or not. But race lap record here, a 107.411. The race lap record here in the V10 era, as the circuit was in 2003, Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari F2003 GA, 108.337. So the 2017 cars, at very least, are just about a second a lap quicker in race trim than the 2003 cars were. Again, 2003 was the last time until 2014 that Formula One visited Austria. Anyway, those are the specifics on the circuit. Now, through the magic of Google Earth, we can get in a little bit closer and take a look at what's going on at this place. You can see everything very nicely appointed, and certainly this place has been put together with a lot of thought in mind. A couple interesting little quirks that we can spot right away here on Google Earth. We can see that this circuit doubles as an airfield of some sort. Now, I'm not talking about in the infield we have a runway or something, but Right here, the runs between turns 1 and 3, this little kink area, is what the FIA have decided to call turn 2, even though it really is a kink. This is actually a runway, or at least it can be used in maybe emergencies as a runway, because you can see as we start to zoom in along the length of this straight, it's a little bit difficult to see from these shots, but we have runway heading markings here on the tarmac. And interestingly enough, in Assetto Corsa, these have been replicated. Trying to find where they were, of course, you never know what's going to happen. And broadcasting here, I'm trying to find where that number was. I saw a number 6, and there we go. There it is. You can just barely see it. Number 15, it appears to be. Or is that a 3? Nope, that's a 5. That is 15. Obviously, that is going to be indicating from a different direction. There we go. Obviously, this is going to be indicating from this direction that we are facing 150 degrees on the compass. So we're heading roughly, not quite south, we're heading roughly southwest in this direction here. So runway 15 in this direction. Interesting to see that. I figure you could land small aircraft on that little stretch, although it's not exactly straight and level because there is a bit of elevation change on this circuit. But yeah, this circuit doubling as a runway, at least in very limited use. Regardless of all of that, let's get back to our original purpose here. We're trying to see if there is any way that we could exploit natural topography or alternate circuit layouts to spice up the racing in Formula One. Again, I don't think there's really anything that needs to be done to this track, but as we go along here, you can see that we have some alternate layouts here. You can see this turnout effectively isolating the circuit into almost two complete halves, where you could almost run two races simultaneously here. We have the run up through turn 1. We come about 33% of the way down the straight before we would turn off through this section and then come into what is sector 3 of the Formula 1 lap through the back straight and then through turns 9 and 10 to come back onto the start-finish straight. Also, you can see here, and it's used as a slip road now, it's not properly an alternate configuration, but you can see that there is yet another way to shorten this lap if you wanted. You could cut through this section here. So this is coming up to turn 3. You'd come all the way down this first long straight through turn 4. And then right before you would get to turn 5, you would just straight line it. You'd go through what is the gravel trap for the Formula 1 cars, and then this would effectively become turn 5. Turn 6 would be a very tight, almost hairpin, and then you'd come back up to what is turn 3 of the Grand Prix circuit. So effectively, you could have two races going on simultaneously here at the Red Bull Ring, although I don't believe that the circuit ever operates in that configuration. Regardless of all of that, we also mentioned the older configuration here, the Österreich-Ring as it was known, and you can see that most of it remains. Here, up in this section where you just see this vast expanse of concrete and asphalt, what this actually is the old Hella Lichtchicane. So Hella was a headlight manufacturer, an automotive lighting manufacturer, Licht obviously meaning light in German, and here it was. This was the chicane. Now the actual course that the circuit followed through this section of tarmac is now gone, but you can see where the chicane could be routed. Exiting the chicane through here, now we go down this long, gently meandering, flat out section before we get into this corner. This would have been a very steeply cambered corner. I don't quite want to call it a banked corner, but very steeply cambered, nice positive camber to help the cars get around. In a modern car, this would be easy flat, and then we come back around behind the trees, rejoining what is the modern circuit. The old circuit, it would have continued down through here a little bit more, basically where you see this grandstand now and the slip road around there. This is more or less the outline of the older part of the circuit as it started to meander its way through. Here you can see some drainage culverts here, which are actually also being used as access roads. These are also parts of the older circuit here. Additionally, through this section, you can see another branch of the older circuit coming around this way. So a few different configurations that could have been run back in the day as well. The Grand Prix circuit picks up back through here. meanders down and then more or less follows the same profile that we see nowadays on the start-finish straight, but notice that we have translated a little bit southward from our vantage point. This is the old start-finish straight, now used as an access road. Very interesting through here, at least as far as I'm able to tell. The actual old start-finish straight may well have been demolished, but this is more or less the profile of it. Very cool to see. And then obviously the first chicane coming back through here. So knowing this about where the circuit is and which sections of tarmac from the old days remain, which ones would need to be reconstructed, could you run this in its original configuration right now in 2018? No, you could not. That's a simple answer. But is there a way we could incorporate some of those older elements into a modern take on that configuration? Well, absolutely there is. We can maintain the start of the lap where it is right now. So here's the timing line. And through the magic of Google Earth, we can just draw a little bit of a line there. That's kind of messed up. We're going to try that again. Yeah. Anyway, if we could draw a bit of a line coming through here, obviously to start the lap, I cannot draw a straight line free-handed, but yeah, you get the idea. So this is turn one. This is a very cool corner. I like this. It's a big challenge for the drivers. It's basically blind on the entrance, very steeply uphill in the braking zone. However, we also get this gloriousness behind it. So we're going to bypass turn one. There is tarmac, believe it or not, underneath this runoff zone that is stylized to look like the colors of the Austrian flag. So we're just going to go straight through here. And here is the old chicane. So this is the start of the old lap now. Do we run a chicane through here? We could follow any number of paths. We could obviously go left, right. We could go right, left. I don't really know what we do, but assuming that we don't have a chicane and we just straight line it, let's do this kind of thing. Now, we are well and truly on the old circuit, so we can continue our course all the way through here following the profile of the old track. And again, the most of the tarmac is actually still here, and at least as far as I'm able to tell from these pictures, it looks like it's in reasonably good condition as well. So we can follow the path of the old tarmac all the way around the track at this point, coming to this glorious corner. Again, not quite banked, but a lot of positive camber to help you out here. This would be very easily flat in a modern Formula One car. So continuing around through here, and then around the back behind the trees. And here is where we run into a little bit of a problem. The modern circuit, it's a little bit kinked off to our left from that, to our right rather, from this vantage point. Therefore, we can't really rejoin the modern circuit as it is. So at this point, what do? Our speeds are going to be quite high up to this point of our reconstructed lap. It's safe to assume that the driver is never lifted off the throttle. So our speed through this point is going to be about 200 miles an hour, if not a little bit faster. So do we throw in a corner here? Do we throw in a chicane, or do we just allow the drivers to carry on more or less straight as we run through what is actually the run-out zone for turn 3 of the current lap to rejoin the modern Grand Prix circuit? Well, I suppose that's a possibility. For our purposes, though, just to get a general idea of the distance, let's just continue. Now coming down what is the current, I don't want to quite call it the back straight because I consider the back straight to be later on in the lap, but whatever. The current straight between turns 3 and 4, and this is turn 4 now on the modern circuit. We'll readjust our camera here so we can see more of a top-down view. Braking zone for turn 4. All of this could be more or less unchanged as it is in the current modern lap. Out of turn 4, big acceleration zone through here. Accelerating all the way up. You might just touch 7th gear in a 2018 car. Now, we mentioned this little bit of runoff here. Let's ignore it. We can't really do anything with that without intersecting with ourselves again, so we're not going to do that. Turn 5 through here, easy as you like. This is how the lap currently works. All the way around turn 5. Run wide over these exit curbs. You can use them. They're very flat. And the gravel in this section is moved a little bit further back for the Grand Prix weekend, so there actually is a little bit more asphalt behind the curbing if you really get in trouble. Coming down through turn 6. Again, this is unchanged. Turn 7 immediately follows in the opposite direction. Turn 6 was a left-hander. Turn 7 is a right-hander. Running wide to track out here. Again, you'll see the drivers using a lot of those exit curbs. They'll tuck the car back in between the white lines as the exit curb runs out. This is what I consider to be the back straight here. Coming up through turn 8, obviously you can see I said that this circuit has 10 corners. We're going to have 9 corners by the end. I missed one. And again, all this is unchanged from the current configuration of the Grand Prix circuit. And what I'm calling turn 9 coming through here. Wide over these exit curbs. Turn 9 or turn 10, whatever you want to call it, actually quite steeply cambered as well in the positive direction. So this does help the cars on their final exit there to come back down, start, finish. So that essentially is the lap that I would have here in Austria, trying to reconstruct the original circuit. So what does that leave us with in terms of measurements? That is 3.27 miles around this place. And if we can get ourselves repositioned, there we go. This is the layout that I was thinking of perhaps doing. We're bypassing turns 1, 2, and 3 per the FIA track map, and we are reusing a significant section of the old circuit here. Of course, we'd have to do a lot of work on the tarmac to get everything up to current FIA Grade 1 standards, but the tarmac is, for the most part, still there. Now, of course, 3.26, 3.27 miles, whichever you want to call it, well, we could throw some chicanes in there. We could reprofile a couple of corners to change that track distance a little bit more in the positive or negative direction. It would only be minor adjustments though. But just looking conservatively here at the tarmac that remains here at the Red Bull Ring, we could have a rather significant lap. There would be depending on what you consider a corner, there could be fewer corners, but I think this would be cool because Sector 1 and a lot of Sector 2 as well would be pretty well flat out in the modern car. So that would be really cool to see these guys doing well over 190 miles an hour for about half of the lap. So you'd get 50% of the lap at least at full throttle. That would be very exhilarating to watch. The only place where we really get that in modern Formula One is at Monza, where you spend something like 67% of the lap at full throttle. So this would be, in terms of engine performance and engine power, this would be an engine killer circuit on the order of Monza, on the order of Spa. Remember, there'd also be a lot of elevation change here. So yeah, that is conservatively the best reconfig that I could do, just sitting where I'm sitting, not knowing really all the details of the topography of this area and knowing what's possible and what's not. But yeah, that's my idea on what might be able to be done for the Austrian Grand Prix. Again, the circuit as it currently is, I really like it. I don't see anything wrong with it. But yeah, that's what I think could be done here if I were the czar of Formula One circuit design. And for those of you measuring in new money, that final length of this new proposal, 5.25 kilometers. So yeah, I really like that. And hopefully this was something that could be interesting for everybody. So yep, hope you enjoyed that little one. This might be a little bit of a series that I continue looking at other racetracks that we visit along the course of the year, and perhaps some that we have already visited. But until next time, Ferrari Man 601 saying thank you very much for watching, and we will see you soon.